Hello, everybody. This is Fernando for the latest Godzilla on This Day podcast. All right, let's go ahead and let's see what happened on this particular day back in history. This one has to do with an interesting entry because it's associated with one of the most infamous murders of all time. Like today, you hear about the O.J. Simpson murders, and then you hear about the Casey Anthony murders. But this one was the one that probably started it all, not just because of the gruesome way that the murders happened, but what happened afterward when the person accused of this basically gone off scot-free. And to this day, a lot of people truly believe that that person was guilty, but just by pure luck, or in this case strategy, she was able to get off completely free and live a normal life afterward. And it has to do with this. On this particular day back in 1892, the Lizzie Borden murders occurred. So crazy entry today when I was looking up what happened in history. So yes, back in 1892 today, that's when the two murders occurred of the Borden family. In this case, it was the father who was found bludgeoned to death by an axe there on the first floor of their house. His head basically almost split in two. Such was the force of the axe that was used. And then her stepmother, Abby, she was found on the second floor, also bludgeoned to death. Not quite as gruesome, but still, in this case, she was clearly just murdered outright by an axe. And the way the story goes, the legend goes, is everyone suspects that it was Lizzie Borden that did this because she was the person that found her, along with the nanny, that found the bodies, and she was the only one between her and her sister that the police became suspicious on. So after this happened, there was a court case, there was trial that was created. Prosecution brought forth evidence. I think if I recall correctly, they were stating that she had bought a dress that she had burned. She was also the one that purchased the axe. All this evidence was presented. Lizzie, though, created her own defense to showcase that no, she did not do this, even though she would receive basically like a lot of money from the wealthy family, from the wealthy father and stepmother from this. No, she was the one that was not guilty of it. That was her side, and the jury believed her. It only took about 90 minutes, but after everything was said and done, they found her not guilty of these murders. And so that's why I believe this case, rightfully so, takes on such infamy, because everything that was presented was pointing towards her, but then by just a jury deciding otherwise, they claimed that no, she was not guilty. She got off scot-free and then lived out the rest of her life a pretty content life. From what I understand, she received their inheritance and she was able to live a wealthy and lavish life afterward. Ironically, she was able to then be buried next to their bodies after she passed away sometime in the late 1920s. By the way, did you know this? There was even a chance that the axe that was found could have been fingerprinted, because apparently during that time period, even though it was the late 1800s, fingerprinting was becoming more common, especially in Europe. But the police around her area, when they saw the axe and they heard about fingerprinting, they still didn't consider it a reliable source of finding evidence. Crazy, isn't that? That would have been the straight up closest answer to finding out who killed, in this case, her parents, her father, and then her stepmother. That would have just answered it 100%. Although even then, you'll always have the notion of others stating, no, her fingerprints were planted. I mean, look at the O.J. Simpson case. To this day, with such clear DNA evidence, everything pointing to him, you still have people that are stating there was a frame-up, there was a conspiracy, all of the above. Same thing with the Casey Anthony trial. I mean, in that case, it was about everything else but Casey Anthony. So that's why this case remains such has such infamy as well. Coast Adventurous has covered this case. I believe they visited the home one time. They showcased the couch where her father was killed, and of course there have been movies, including the most famous one involving what's her name? Elizabeth Montgomery, the bewitched lady, the very pretty lady, portraying, in this case, Lizzie Borden. And then also the rhyme that was associated with Lizzie Borden took on a life of its own. So even to this very day, well over 100 years plus, what is it, like 100, almost 25 years to this day, this thing still remains as infamous as possible. But yes, that's what occurred on this date back on 1892. So, all right, everybody. Thanks again as always. Take care. Bye.